When, in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence indeed will dictate that governments being long established should not be changed for light and transient causes, and accordingly all experience hath shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty, to throw off such government, and to provide new gods for their future security.
I appeared before the Congressional Committee to tell what I knew of activities which might lead to an attempt to set up a fascist dictatorship.
The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist.
The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society, and we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised.
Dozens of communities in 10 states ban fluoride from their drinking water. Still, most dental advocates say fear of fluoride is completely unfounded.
Fluoridation of community water is extremely safe and extremely effective in preventing tooth decay.
Edmund Hewlett teaches dentistry at UCLA and is a spokesman for the American Dental Association. Hewlett points out the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention recently honored water fluoridation as one of the great public health achievements of the 20th century. He says he can't explain why the anti-fluoride movement has been gaining such traction.
Science is on the side of fluoride being safe and effective.
In 1983, the U.S. population began ingesting significant quantities of a substance never before used for human consumption. Artificial sweetener aspartame was quickly introduced to consumers. In 1984, 6,900,000 pounds of aspartame was consumed by Americans. This rate doubles by the next year and continues to climb into the 90s.
When it was fully marketed for pop and everything by July to August of 1983, 6 months later, by 1984, the brain tumor rate had already jumped 10% in the United States. The diabetes rate had jumped 30%, and the incidence of brain lymphoma, a very aggressive and unusual type of brain tumor, jumped 60%.
All this enjoyment is brought to you by all the things sweetened with NutraSweet. instead of sugar. Something you and your child can appreciate.
Would you like to have something sweet?
Just look to the swirl.
And if Washington doesn't have enough to talk about these days, the Washington Times reported today that unidentified White House aides in the Carter, Reagan, and Bush administrations now are being investigated for using the services of a call boy ring. The paper reports that 2 of the male prostitutes were given a late-night tour of the White House last year.
So you were in the White House then?
Yes.
And how did you gain access?
Well, I came down with Larry King, but Craig Spence was the one that arranged the trip for us. And it was kind of a gift for our services that we were doing.
How many times were you on this kind of a trip?
I came to it on 2 times.
2 times. And were you used for sex on those occasions?
Not until after we left.
After you left the White House?
Yes.
What time of night?
It was usually around midnight. For me, it was just kind of weird being in the White House at that time of the night, getting to go into places that the guy was telling us that nobody gets to go to. You know, I seen rooms in there that I'd never even heard about.
A new world order. A world where the rule of law, not the law of the jungle, governs the conduct of nations. When we are successful, and we will be, we have a real chance at this new world order.
Are you telling me that the United States government was fooling around and manufacturing biological weapons, germ warfare? Yes or no?
Yes, and
okay.
In specific, George Bush and James Baker III and John Deutsch were involved financially in some of these ventures.
All right. And are you telling me that these biological chemicals were somehow transported, transmitted, sold, made their way to Iraq?
Both, and used by the United States themselves in the Persian Gulf War.
And are you telling me that our Desert Storm troops then were inoculated or were sprayed with this stuff through some type of activities and are sick because of it?
Yes, but that's a different part of the test. There were many weapons that were tested and vaccines that were tested in the Persian Gulf War. I'll give you 2 names. One would be HIV or AIDS. As a matter of fact, Mycoplasma incognitus contains most of, or 90% of the gene envelope of HIV. Also, the Ebola virus. In essence, what you have are some of the Desert Stormers coming back are actually coming back with Ebola Reston versus Ebola Zaire. That is the layman's term, wherein in one of them, the Reston version, you are a carrier and infecting people. The Ebola Zaire, you die. And this has to do, of course, with the plan of the New World Order.
April 19th, 1995, downtown Oklahoma City. Multiple bombs ripped through the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building. And as usual, federal fingerprints were all over this tragic event.
Peter.
The VA hard files on Gulf Syndrome, the evidence, certain evidence that was collected by the VA in testing was stored at the Murrah Building in Oklahoma that was bombed.
You're kidding.
No, sir, I am not kidding.
During the time that the airplane coming in to the Pentagon, there was a young man who would come in and say to the Vice President, the plane is 50 miles out, the plane is 30 miles out. And when it got down to the plane is 10 miles out, the young man also said to the Vice President, do the orders still stand? And the Vice President turned and whipped his neck around and said, of course the orders still stand. Have you heard anything to the contrary? And
the flight you're referring to is the
flight that came into the Pentagon.
Dick Cheney, don't put your hands on me.
Get out of my way.
Don't push me.
I'll push you, pal.
Don't
okay?
Don't push me. You can politely talk. That's all you have to do.
Are you being polite?
Mr. Dick Cheney, we know what you did on 9/11 when you did the stand-down orders. Norman Mineta testified against you on the 9/11 Commission report. Mr. Cheney, you know what happened on 9/11.
Everybody out there.
You guys are a bunch of small animals, people. We know what you did on 9/11 with your stand-down orders. You won't get away with it.
If you knew that plane was headed on Pentagon,
why did you do the stand-down orders?
Thank you for all you've done for our country. Thank you.
You're a terrorist. You're a terrorist.
Thank you.
President Bush signed a formal agreement that will end the United States as we know it. And he took the step without approval from either the U.S. Congress or the people of the United States.
Those weapons of mass destruction got to be somewhere. Nope, no weapons over there. Maybe under here. Anytime you hear the United States government talking about wiretap, a wiretap requires a court order. Nothing has changed, by the way. When we're talking about chasing down terrorists, we're talking about getting a court order before we do so. So to prevent another attack, based on authority given to me by the Constitution and by statute, I have authorized a terrorist surveillance program to aggressively pursue the international communications.
The secret organizations of the world power elite are no longer secret.
It's known as the Bilderberg Group. Could their objective be world domination?
Contrary to the rumors that you've heard, I was not born in a manger. I was actually born on Krypton and sent here to save the planet Earth. I will provide our intelligence and law enforcement agencies with the tools they need to track and take out the terrorists without undermining our Constitution and our freedom. That means no more illegal wiretapping of American citizens.
The Obama administration, taking its first crack at the case Friday night, not only defended the Bush claim of state secrets, seeking to dismiss the case entirely, but added a stunning claim that no one can ever sue the U.S. government over secret wiretaps, even if the wiretaps are illegal.
The Obama campaign promised us change we could believe in a new era of transparency and accountability from government. But instead, this is looking like deja vu all over again. And the Obama administration is embracing the same aggressive secrecy arguments that the Bush administration did, and is going them one better by arguing this incredible immunity argument, by saying that despite the many laws that we have that are meant to restrict the government from wiretapping us or accessing our communications records without warrants, that the U.S. government is immune from any lawsuit for violating those statutes and essentially eviscerating the privacy rights of millions of ordinary Americans.
Will you tell the American people to whom you lent $2.2 trillion of their dollars? Tell us who they are. No.
Fascism has come to America in broad daylight, but they're feeding it in little bits and pieces. First, AIG was too big to fail. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, a mortgage company, too big to fail. Banks, too big to fail. Auto companies, too big to fail. Now we're giving money to the people that make the auto parts. And now there's talk about the technology companies wanting their piece of the action. The merger of state and government is called fascism.
Listen to our government agencies. These guys are telling the truth. You know, there's no conspiracy here, folks. Just get your damn vaccine.
All right. Thank you, doctor. Thank you.
They harassing a kid?
Yep.
Nice.
Our goal is to give 80% of Americans access to high-speed rail. This could allow you to go places in half the time it takes to travel by car. For some trips, it will be faster than flying, without the pat-down.
Homeland security begins with hometown security. That's why I'm pleased that Walmart is helping to make our communities more safe and secure. If you see something suspicious in the parking lot or in the store, say something immediately.
There's a little bug inside of me which wants to get the FCC to say to Fox and to MSNBC, out, off, end, goodbye. Be a big favor.
In today's digital age, keeping the internet safe is a responsibility we all share. We need to take time to stop and think before we connect to services over the internet, share information online, or participate in online communities. Stop, Think, Connect is a national effort to encourage the public to take charge of our safety and security online.